playing the guitar. How to hold the guitar. First, you throw the pick at the screen. You know, any formal work, just toss it. Alright, cool. So you want to find a seat where you can just be feet on the floor, shoulder width apart. The things that everybody does, and we're going to kind of troubleshoot right now, are as follows. The way the guitar looks like you just plop it in the center there and it falls this way. What we do is we move it an inch to the right or so, and then lean it back against our body. Here's how far away from my body the instrument is. About an inch. So not this, nor straight, but you know, just enough where you shouldn't be able to see the frets unless you go like tilt your head a little bit or whatever. So there we go. That's how we hold it. And we steady it with the leaning against our body part as well as our right arm, forearm resting on the instrument here, such that your hand ends up above the pickups, which is what these things are called. I got two big ones, you got three little ones. That's what takes the sound from the instrument to the amp. And when we're strumming the whole instrument, so there we go. So just please, when you're in your next practice session, I might say at home by default. In your next practice session, please just stop now and try to get in that position. Cool. So the first thing we talked about was strumming the entire instrument. First of all, here's how we hold the pick. So thumb and forefinger, such that we got the pointy part at right angles with your instrument. Your inclination, it needs to make a right turn of like about 80 degrees or so, so that it's parallel to the perpendicular to the fretboard. There we go. And like we talked about, we learned two chords today. One of them was E minor, and I'm going to play that one right now if we were on the page. First of all, if you practice in the next 48 hours, you're probably going to retain a lot of this. But looking at the page, we talked about how to read tablature. It's like, okay, nothing on the sixth string. Second fret with my middle finger, third fret, okay, cool, and the rest are zeros. So, and that was just me going, here's how the chord looks. Great, and don't look at the page when you're practicing, look at your hands. That's to say, you've just internalized the E minor part, and there's nothing more on the page. We're subconsciously used to seeing learned musicians look at the page while they do stuff. They're reading music, we're rocking out. So, as opposed to how it really looks like when you move, which is like here, we're going to have a wider range of motion, goal being to hit all the strings with the same amount of attack. I do not play golf. My understanding is you just kind of one fluid motion, and that's how it goes far, rather than you do it Harvard or whatever. So you can kind of set up visual landmarks for yourself. Like, here's me playing rhythm. And you see me ending up here and as far down as here. And you can literally use the guitar list during practice. But either way, what it isn't is you line your hand up here and then go. That'll end up sounding like that rather than. That's when we're playing it like our percussion instrument. Great, so we have three rhythms. The first one is designed to just get you used to playing downstrokes. If your left hand gets tired when you're working on this, you can just let go and hit open strings. Open strings don't sound that great because it's like no chord, but if your left hand, at first it's going to be our goal to isolate each hand when you're just for the first time thinking about strumming, but ideally you'd just keep holding down that E minor chord. So yeah, this is you at home, in your lesson, in your practice, going down, pretending the concept of rhythm doesn't exist, just really thinking about the motion. Step one, please stop, do that, and now try to actually do it in rhythm, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Please stop and get good at that. Awesome. Our second rhythm is including up strums also. So now we're going down and up and down, and that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and with no swing to it or anything. And even when we play more complicated strumming patterns, that down on the downbeat, up on the upbeat is going to be uniform. Like if I'm going, that's just going 1, like down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. So there we go. So there's rhythm 1, rhythm 2. Please stop and just work on the down, up. Again, pretend rhythm doesn't exist. Really zoom in on your own right hand. Just check yourself, make sure you're in the positions we discussed. And cool. So that's what you're working on now. Then rhythm 3 is half rhythm 1, half rhythm 2. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and like that. Now it'll start to sound more like pardon me, that you're actually playing music. And then we learn this chord change to A minor, which is incredibly similar. It goes, I move down and my first finger comes in. And you might remember the feeling during the lesson of, initially you were going this and this, and the way we tricked you into move, so to speak, into moving all at once, which is our goal when we're changing chords, was to think about this finger first and then those. But the short version is just come on and do them all at once. And right now, I'd like you to pause in your practice and have an excruciating 5 minutes of getting good at that. Really myopic, really conscious focus, not guessing, and do single strums with each one, just to make sure you're actually successfully having notes to ring out. If you hear something like that and you're not sure which notes worked, the way to do it is push down and go one at a time, and it'll be like, oh. And there's two reasons that would happen. One is I need to push down harder. The other is I'm touching that string with one of my other fingers by accident, which got us to our fingernail clipping portion of the lesson and how we're, coming in at the strings in a way that we can't bend unless we're pushed up against something, as opposed to this or, flat or whatever. You get it. So, do that chord change, painstaking repetition. Having done that, now we're going to pretend the song ends at the first strum of A minor, so kind of zooming in on, down. And there's good news. For starters, I'm going to tune. And your guitar's going to be in tune. We'll talk more about tuning next time, but it's going to be in tune when you pick it up. Cool. So what I mean is that, as opposed to just trying to go gigantic pause, we're going to zoom in on the chord change and just be going. Now there's great news, which is the open strum. On the very last chord change, very last strum of E minor, I'm actually hitting no chord in slow mo. Here it is again. And that's just how guitar playing sounds. So you've got 2 split seconds, not 1 split second. And you could just be like, then you wouldn't really need the open strum. But there you go. You've got 2 chords. You're going to do those 3 rhythms and mess around with other things. We also learned a power chord. The way we tricked your hand into getting into the right juxtaposition to be able to do it, which is classical thumb position, as opposed to the thumb over top position we often use for chords in first position, or open chords, which is what we were playing back here. Then there's bar chords, and there's power chords, which are abbreviated bar chords, this little tune-up thing that we learned. Right hand wise, we're going for this down and away motion where we just hit 2 strings. Also, you can kind of play defense by having your first finger flop down on all of the strings, even though it's just pressing on that string so that it mutes them. If that seems too lofty, you needn't do it. You can just hit 2 strings. But either way, we've got this one right here on those 2 strings, and then it moves down. And you can just mess with that. You can just be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can use the open strum thing. Or, and then we talked about, so once you get really comfortable just doing it there, and then we can move laterally to, and it's going to turn out that every song is exactly this shape, and you'll be psyched. So yeah, there we are. We've got in the last 2, I didn't write in. These are G. The first 2 are a G power chord, a C power chord. The others are A and D. Right now we're just dry memorizing the name of those. Yeah, totally.
And the G was
the first one, yeah. And yeah, so right now it should seem pretty arbitrary. What is that all? We're just assigning names to them so that I can be play an A power chord. Awesome, so those are the things we're working on this week. And if you want to do some single note type unhitting single strings too, there you go. I'm mostly just getting used to strumming, getting used to fretting. It's all good. And maybe most importantly, getting you started with the right fundamentals rather than a bunch of potential